Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inside the Circle. This is our predictions episode for what we think is going to happen during the Olympic Games. It's me, Alan, and Simon. We do hope you enjoy.
Everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Inside the Circle. Today, it's our predictions episode, and for once, we've got everyone on the same call. We've got Alan, Simon, and myself to go through our fours and who do we think is going to do well. Now, Simon, top four in your opinion, what do we think is going to happen on the men's side of things?
I haven't seen anybody here. I've only come into Paris today, so I haven't seen anybody actually performing, and the kind of last week of friendlies has been behind closed doors, so there's no real change to what I thought when I was doing my prep at the start of the competition. With the men's, it's so hard. Since we knew this was coming, I have sat with pieces of paper and gone through it, and the best I could kind of do to start with was I eliminated the teams that I didn't think would make the top four. So I took out Argentina, India, and Spain. They came out of my top eight. The top eight I'd already taken because I think that'll go on rankings. I just can't see that getting mixed up. So I took out Argentina, India, and Spain, and that left me with Australia, Great Britain, Netherlands, Germany, and Belgium. And I then went patriotically. I just felt that Great Britain deserved something, so I kept them in my top three.
Absolutely.
Having kept them in my top three, I then put Australia in my top three because they're the team that Great Britain haven't beaten in the last 12 months. They kind of warranted it from that perspective. Then I took out Germany, which is a bit of a thing. And I took out Germany because Payet hasn't been scoring corners.
No, he hasn't.
Now, Tom Grambusch has. I get that. But Payet hasn't. And he is still incredible. But if you look at the last 12 months, he hasn't scored the goals that he has done in previous editions. Yeah. Therefore, I took him out, which then put Belgium in with the Netherlands. So it's a pretty European top four. My top four, therefore, read Australia, Great Britain, Netherlands, and Belgium.
Okay. I have three of those teams. So I do.
I'm going home.
Yeah, you were useless.
You've picked Argentina, India, and Spain, haven't you, Alan? That's where you're at.
Yeah, it wasn't far off, to be honest. Yeah, I threw Ireland into the mix probably instead of GB doing what you've done on patriotism. I know there's probably the slimmest of slim chances that they get anywhere near it, but I think it's just they've done so well so far in the year and the past couple of years. It would just be nice if they get out of the group stages. I would be ecstatic. The guys they've got playing, I think, deserve something for all their hard work. I know every team deserves something for their hard work, but Ireland, there's 3-4 guys from Banbridge area, so it would just be really nice to see if they could get that far, to be honest.
Yeah, I can see why you've done it. I think that's a big call, but I can see
totally.
I mean, if you look back through Pro League, funnily enough, I mentioned them in one of the previews that I'd done because in that Pro League game against India, they've shown how well they can defend. They've got some really good players. However, they are only going to get top 8 if they basically batten down the hatches. Davey has an amazing time. Everything hits him. They win a couple of games, 1-0, 2-1, and they scrape it out. And then you're into one-off quarterfinals, at which point I'm afraid I think their luck might run out because they'll have already used all of it. However, I get the point of keeping them in there. So just go back again. So they're in there, and who are your other three?
I have Belgium just because I think their experience and just their playmakers that they've got in the team. I think it's just they're going to go on autopilot and sort of turn it up for the games. I've got Australia just because they work on Olympic cycles like no other team, I think, and they're always just in time. Like they've come from that Pro League, they've won the Pro League. It's just their time. They're just on that cycle, and it's the same with the Netherlands, the other team that I've got. But I think they might just lack the bit of experience that the Australians might have, and there are a couple of other players.
All right.
Yeah. See, I went for Germany. I put Germany in. I again, I just think they might do it, as you said. If they're missing a key player, it can be, if they're relying on that sort of person to get them through matches, maybe. But I've gone for Germany. I've gone for the Netherlands. To be honest, Australia just have drifted through as well and been in my group. I was going to go for Ireland, but then we couldn't have two Irish people picking two
Irish teams.
So, as you said, it's really hard. I mean, I would like to see a Spain or an Ireland or someone disrupt. It's just not going to happen. It really isn't going to happen. And hence I've also gone with Belgium. I just don't see it happening at all on that side of things. But look, we'll see. As you said, the tournament might throw something up, but for those teams, everything has to just fall in place, and the other teams need to have a bad match.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see whether, from your prediction, Alan, whether that can actually happen in terms of how all the games pan out. I'm looking at my pad because I spent a little bit of time doing all the major season, what the crossovers. Yeah, I appreciate your top four, but I'm not sure you've looked at the actual draw to see it can happen. Anyway, that doesn't matter, does it? It's one of those things where it could be anybody, couldn't it? I mean, from that, it looks like kind of GB Ireland will be considered to be the wild cards because that's where the split's gone. But I wouldn't put the wild card question that you've asked is so hard.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's way out.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I think we got some briefing notes, and I'm not sure how relevant they are, but the injury protocol has changed because it was permanent out for permanent in. So, in Tokyo, you were allowed to rotate because of the heat. You've now got temporary injury replacements that have been allowed. And we've been briefed on that from a commentary perspective only in the last week. So I don't know if that had happened beforehand. I don't know if it was public knowledge. It certainly wasn't in my head from the work that I've been doing. So that could be interesting because I felt that injuries might then have an impact when it was permanent out, permanent in. But if you're looking at it now that you can kind of have a light strain and somebody's coming back in, and if they're in great form for the first three pool games and then they have to go out for one and come back in, then that really means that depth of squad is relevant and who can rotate that. Which is why I think the wild card thing's a lot harder.
Sorry, Simon. Do you think could that be abused in any way? Do you think could we see a clever coach, Arazi from South Africa, with his lights and everything else in the rugby side of things, maybe looking to see if they can maximize the rule without actually breaking it?
I don't know what the injury protocol is. So in principle, if it is a team doctor making a statement that a player is injured and needs 24 hours out with no secondary independent verification, yes, it does raise the question. Yeah. Because at this level, there will always be what is the line, where is the line, and how bendy is the line. Yeah. Because you're talking about trying to win an Olympic gold medal. And I get that. But I've been part of multiple conversations over the years, both within performance and then standing just slightly outside it, about where does that go? Where do you draw that line? There were questions around some of the Great Britain decisions when rotations were allowed because of heat protocols. If you go back to Tokyo, and they didn't choose to do that, or certainly the men didn't choose to do that. I can't remember about the women. And if you look at it, if you break it all down, people talk about the 1%ers in an Olympic sport, 1%, 0.5%, the width of the wheel, a bow ball in rowing, whatever it may be. So people go, it doesn't make much difference. But if you work out number of games, number of players, the rotations on it, if you rotate, one person plays one game less across every game, and so you basically just take 5 game loads out of your squad in the pool for one player each time, you're into 2 or 3% of play. Mm-hmm. And so the desire to do it, I can understand why the conversation would exist, because gold medals are won and lost on fractions of percentages. So we'll see where it goes. But the answer to your question, Alan, is I don't know. But if it is loose, yes, I think it would be.
Yeah, I mean, I would presume being involved in other sports, it's got to be the tournament doctors have to make that call. And I know from experience at the Olympics, there's a lot of doctors involved with it, within it. So, I'd say it's down to the match day doctor or doctors that will make that final call. But it would be just an interesting concept if you were allowed to go, okay, today's my squad is 12, 13, 14 players. Tomorrow it's a different 14 players, or the next day, and being allowed to pick from the stand and rotate that way. It's maybe something that might happen or something along the lines.
We shall see, hey, but the squads that all the teams have got that we've talked about are insane. I mean, putting numbers against them, genuinely, I mean, you're flipping a coin. The coin, because I sit here and go, I feel that Great Britain are emotionally worth a final position, but that's an emotional statement, because all of my friends in the Netherlands would go, don't be ridiculous. Did you not watch how we beat them last time? Our German friends will be going, well, surely you've seen this, that, and the other. And so it does become biased. But from a men's perspective, I'm still going to be biased. I'm going to sit here on this particular conversation and go, you know what? I'd like to see an Australia-Great Britain final. Yeah, that's what I think will happen. I think the Australians will make the final. Full stop.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm putting them top two. Who then wins that? That's anybody's guess. I mean, that's even more of a coin toss than anything else, because that comes down to just infinitely small margins on the day. And I then think from what we then have spoken about, that then means the bronze medal game from my four is then Netherlands-Belgium. A month ago, I'd have nailed that to the Netherlands. I'm putting Belgium back. I'll happily give you, and I know you want that, I'll happily give you that. I think my bias emotional final prediction is Australia-Germany. There's sort of Freudian slip. Australia GB final, Netherlands-Belgium bronze medal.
Okay. Might have to hold you to that. I know, moving on to the ladies, so we put the Netherlands to one side.
Yes.
I think probably in everybody's list. Like I've gone with the GBR on that one. So Great Britain in that, and just as my wild card, I'm throwing it out there. I think the women might turn it on, but as I say, you just never know. In your review, you spoke about some of the players there, and I just think it's a good opportunity that they just might squeeze it. And I don't know. What do you think on that?
So I think the women's semi-finals are far more dependent on the pool placings and then the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
First and foremost, to answer your Great Britain question, game 1 versus Spain is their biggest game of the tournament.
Yeah.
Because you win that, then you put yourself, Great Britain, if they win that, they put themselves into a position where if they beat the two lower ranked teams, they come third in the pool, they miss the Netherlands. Full stop. Done. Yeah. I mean, that is objective of Pool B is don't come fifth and sixth is objective 1. Don't come fourth is pretty much still objective 1. Because whoever comes fourth in that pool plays the Netherlands, and the Netherlands are imperious. I mean, just incredible.
Yeah.
So done. And at this moment in time, unless something horrible happens the first couple of games and they really don't show any form, but even when they're not showing any form, they're still winning 2-1 and 3-2. They're still grinding it out because they've got depth of talent. So I've got Netherlands in there. I've then got, for my top 4, I've got Netherlands, Argentina, Australia, and Belgium. There isn't really a wild card other than you go Belgium, but if you look at Belgium on world ranking and Pro League, it's not a wild card because you're not pulling some hat. So I discounted Great Britain because I think that quarterfinal crossover, they're still not quite got the depth of talent there. I took Spain out of that equation as well because they would be one of the 3-4. I then toyed with the whole Germany-Australia conundrum, and I felt that it was going to be dependent on where the crossovers sit. But that was my crossover. I put Australia back in at the last minute and took Germany out, only because I don't think Germany have necessarily got the corner threat.
That's
and that was
the team I have.
Yeah, so Netherlands, Argentina, Australia, and Belgium top 4. I put Japan into my top 8 over China. That was my kind of wild quarter-finalist. I put them in at 4th in my pool list, with China and France coming bottom 2. USA, South Africa. People will argue USA could be a good wild card because of their fitness.
Yeah.
Having watched them in the Pro League, if they get pinned into their back third, they'll really struggle to get into the front half of the pitch. And So my top 4 in the ladies: Argentina, Australia, Belgium, and Netherlands.
To be honest, I'm not sure we can really disagree with any of that.
I put Germany in instead of Australia, just because I think defensively sometimes I think that they grind out games more than probably the Australians do, but that it determines if they score or not. That's they'll grind out a game if they get an early goal. If they don't, then yes, it sometimes can be a bit difficult for them.
I had sort of looked at, there was a possibility China could play Argentina. And could China beat Argentina? Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. It would have to be wind behind you, and Argentina haven't turned up or taken some bad injuries, and just some players are out. But as I say, your prediction's the same as mine, really. I did. A wild card was GB, but you've rightly said. I mean, they just need to perform so much better. But can we see past the Dutch at all in any way?
Not for gold at this moment in time. And going back to your Argentina question about could someone sneak past them, the sentence that you use is, do they not turn up? And it's really interesting because that's exactly the right phrase for them, is because if they don't turn up as a team and they get rattled in game 1 and game 2, they then fragment. And actually, when they fragment, that's when they're at their worst. That's when Granato goes 1-on-3 and Yankunis runs to the corner flag. And he doesn't support as much. And then Salza is trying to do too much and Sanchez is trying to do too much. And it breaks apart. When they're good and they play their little triangles, I mean, they're almost unplayable as the Indian men are when they play their little triangles. But when they get rattled and they get feisty and they get argumentative, then all of a sudden it goes off the boil. And then Ghazalani then isn't flicking top corners; she's flicking at the goalkeeper's face. And they are probably the most emotional team in the competition. More than Spain. Spain used to be, but Argentina now. And that's where they will win or lose something in this competition. I don't mean win the competition, but that's where they'll win or lose, is the emotional ability, the control of their emotions is going to be crucial for them.
And that's probably then that then means that they could be the weaker option, depending on what team they're going to play against in that and whether they go through.
Agreed. And so looking at my pool list, I wrote the teams down as they went through, and I had Argentina top of Pool B with Australia second, Spain third, and GB fourth, which is why I ended up going where I ended up going with mine. Now, you could argue if Argentina have a weak start, then they come second, and that changes the dynamic, because then potentially Australia come first. I had Argentina playing Japan in the crossover quarterfinals, Argentina winning that with Australia playing Germany, and Australia coming through that. If that flipped over, then Argentina-Germany is a whole different kettle of fish, because of different styles. And that's where matrices are really interesting, because you're just flipping one team in one pool, and suddenly who's in the semi completely changes, because teams have favourite teams. Teams have their bogey sides that they just never do well against. And if that comes up, suddenly, if that gets flipped, then, really interesting.
Yeah, I think the women's is probably, and as you said rightly in all the preview episodes that we did, it's just a bit more to script that it could be compared to the men's. And I think that's what's really, I think I'm really looking forward to the men's group games and the inevitable who's going to be in the knockouts for them, because I think there's just so many options that could happen, because they're all such great teams.
I agree. It's I'm so looking. I think I'm probably looking forward to the competition more than anything I've worked on. I've been lucky to work on stuff informally since 2010, but then from 2014 onwards, properly through all the competitions. And I have never looked at a competition listing and thought it is so open across both the men's and the women's, slightly more so, but it's just going to be amazing. And the quality of hockey just feels like it's right up there, and everybody's coming in on form, and that'll be exciting, and it'll be feisty, and everybody's fit and strong, and I think it'd be great.
Yeah, no, I think there's not much that can be said more for the predictions anyway. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens on the 27th for the first round of games. I believe you're working on the first one on the GB game. Yeah,
first game up Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. Just for anybody who's listening, the way that it works is there's a team of us out here working for the BBC. So myself, Kate Richardson Watt from Matt Chilton are doing the BBC coverage, which is focused on Great Britain and Ireland games. Because of the nature of the Olympic contract, BBC are limited to what they can put out on their platforms live. So what they consider, that's not about what I consider to be a bigger game. It's what BBC considers to be a bigger game. I'll state that. If it was up to me, we'd be front and centre on BBC One at lunchtime every day. However, that's not my decision. So we'll be putting the words over that for the Discovery Channel, who kind of own it through whatever that big deal is, through the Eurosport Discovery Plus channel. That'll be OBS, so the Olympic Broadcast Service will be putting the words over all the rest of the hockey. And there's a great team of people who the global audience would have heard, one of whom is Charlie Broom, who does all the Pro League stuff with me. So he's out here doing some of that, as is Chris Sharples, who's done some of the Pro League stuff. And the rest of the team I will find out probably on Saturday morning when I turn up, and we'll all be lined up. We kick off with that first game on Saturday, Great Britain, Spain men at 10 o'clock, European time, 9 o'clock with you.
Oh, brilliant.
Will you get a chance to get out to the ground beforehand, or will Saturday be your first turn up?
We have a little production meeting tomorrow. So this is being filmed on Thursday. I'm not sure when you guys are putting it out, but filmed on Thursday. So we'll have a production meeting tomorrow. And the answer to whether we go or not will be dictated by what we're told to do, to be honest. It'll be fairly similar to pretty much most other tournaments. The technology is similar, the equipment will be similar, the pitch will hopefully be the size and colour we're expecting.
Absolutely.
We'll get accreditation sorted out, get out there possibly tomorrow. It's a bit of a hike to get out, so kind of an hour and a half, so maybe not. We may just do it first thing Saturday morning, but whatever, it's exciting regardless.
Absolutely.
Well, look, Simon, we really do appreciate your time as always. I mean, it's a busy time for you over there in Paris, and I'll maybe catch up with you. I'll try and catch up with you at some point if we get the trip over anyway and see. But I really, have to thank you for your time and effort in this. It's been great. Much appreciated.
We'll talk again, and hopefully I get a chance to bring some insight. There's a couple of other colleagues who are out here. We'll see if we can get some little head-to-heads, some conversations and stuff as we go. Apparently there's some people turning up who know a little bit about hockey, so we'll see.
That could be good.
Why didn't you tell us that?
And their names, we can swap you out.
You can absolutely swap me out, but so far I've got provisional interest from chatting to Kate Richardson Walsh, who said that she'll give us some time. Richard Mantell, I'm trying to catch up with him. Moritz Förster is out here, the ex-German international. Jan Monoveland, Tone de Neuer is going to be here. Jamie Dwyer might turn up at some point. So there's some names. Let's put it that way. So
brilliant.
Got to see who we can talk to.
Let's see.
Brilliant. Look, thank you very much, Simon. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Let us know in the comments below who you think might be in your top 4 teams for the men's and women's. And as always, we'll see you in the next one for the day 1 recap of all the games. Thank you very much.